All right, so Andrew Warmath, founder and CEO of Carmigo, is here to talk about his experiences. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you, Rich. Yeah, good to be here.
So tell us a little bit about Carmigo, and then what I'd like to do is kind of jump from Carmigo to kind of how you even got aware of the opportunity, and then kind of the story about how you built it up, if that'll work.
Yeah, so first of all, Carmigo is an online vehicle marketplace, and we're connecting individuals that are looking to sell vehicles with dealers all across the country in a one-day auction.
Okay. And so how did you get into the car business?
I don't think it's a unique story. A lot of people get in just from family business, and that's how mine started. So I was actually working at a management training program at a regional bank in Kentucky, where I'm from. And my father-in-law purchased a store in Tupelo, Mississippi, Barnes Crossing Hyundai Mazda. He purchased it from a guy who's selling 20 cars a month. He took it, ran it to 300. And then my wife and I were attracted into the business whenever he opened up his second store down in Jackson, Mississippi. So I actually came in to the car business as a dealer.
Okay. And since then, the Barnes Group has grown significantly, really. So only in about 11 years to how many do you have now? 15, you said?
We've got 15 stores, Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, Louisiana, North Carolina. Okay. So all across the South. And
those come in, so the one you guys launched was a Mazda dealership, and that was Mazda inviting your father-in-law to open another store. So, but when you start moving into 3, 4, 5, 15 range, like, is that the car company coming to you to ask you to open a dealership, or is that you buying other dealerships?
Well, it's a little bit of both. So the first store that he purchased was a Hyundai Mazda dual franchise store in Tupelo. He ran that up pretty quick. Mazda recognized his potential and offered him an open franchise down in Jackson, Mississippi. And that's where my wife and I came in. We went down there and started selling cars. But, success can breed success, and other manufacturers recognize, other franchises recognize it, and obviously want to reward, and be a part of it. So they presented a few other opportunities to open up additional franchises, and then we've purchased a few along the way as well.
Okay. What's the biggest challenge when you go from 1 to 15? I mean, from 2 to 15. So now it's
people.
Okay.
People, 100%. You don't grow. I was after a couple of years selling cars and going up the ranks from there, found myself as the chief financial officer for the group. And so I've got personal experience with this, but you don't grow when you have the money, you grow when you have the people. Mm-hmm. And it can be incredibly difficult in the car business. I mean, let's be honest, there's not a lot of young people out there saying, I can't wait till I grow up and I can sell cars. It's not a very illustrious profession. So it's very difficult recruiting into the industry. And so, when you're growing as rapidly as we were, it was really hard to deepen the bench and just in a position to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, how do you do that? I mean, so you go to universities, you kind of go around other dealerships, look for people in the banking industry. I mean, where do you go?
Fortunately, I mean, car dealerships is heavy on sales, right? And salesmen need opportunities. It's a performance-based operation. So the more opportunities that salesmen have, the more successful they can become, right? The better off they can be. And so when they see dealerships that are growing and expanding and adding new dealerships, and they see additional opportunities for them, when they see that we can drive traffic to the showrooms for them to cars, that's what interests them. So a lot of our success helps drive a lot of the people to Barnes Crossing Auto Group. And then from there, it's just making sure you take care of them to where you can retain them. But a lot of them were driven by that opportunity. Like, hey, we'll come out, and we've had a lot of examples of people in management at other dealerships come to Barnes Crossing as a salesman, take a demotion almost to sell cars for a little bit, understanding that, hey, they're going to open up another store somewhere, and they're going to need a general manager, or they're going to need a general sales manager. So I'm going to take a demotion today for the opportunity to be a general manager tomorrow.
Okay. So little competition doesn't hurt anybody.
No, it doesn't. No competition. That's what makes us better.
Yeah.
You got to be inviting of that.
So now you've got, so you're your CFO for the Barnes Group, and then you've got a startup called Carmigo. How did that idea come about?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're a two-sided marketplace, right? Serving individuals that are selling and connecting them with dealerships that are buying. And so when people see Carmigo, a lot of times they just see the individual standpoint, because that's what they can relate to, right? So people assume that we came up with the concept from an individual standpoint. We're solving a problem from the individual standpoint. That's actually inaccurate. We started this from a dealership standpoint. It was July of last year, middle of the summer, sometime around there. The pandemic was just coming on board, and we were already starting to see the shortage in inventory. And we were sitting around a table saying, how can we get a better source of inventory? And we were seeing companies like CarMax and Carvana do a great job of sourcing cars directly from individuals. And we, as franchise dealerships, local dealerships, were saying, how can we get a piece of that? Because we don't have the brand recognition, the buying power to leverage to source cars from individuals. So we thought, hey, how about we come up with this marketplace called Carmigo that can connect individuals with dealerships. So, and then once we started, bringing that idea to fruition, then it hit us like, oh my goodness, we might be solving a greater problem from the individual standpoint than we are from a dealership standpoint. And so far, I don't know which solution's better from an individual or the dealer, but both of them seem to be working.
Okay. And so the people who be disintermediated, to use a fancy term, the folks who are not part of that transaction anymore are the auto auctions, resellers. Is this right?
Wholesalers.
Okay. And how does an individual, so an individual goes on the app and posts their car, and then it goes onto the marketplace, and the dealer would bid, or how does?
Well, actually, so we want to make this process as easy as possible for our sellers. And a lot of times sellers either don't want to list their car on their own or don't know how to list their car on their own. So all we're asking individuals to do is give us some basic information about their car. And then we have inspectors in each of our markets that go on site to wherever they are, that their house, their office, wherever the sellers are. And we take pictures of it. We build the complete listing for them and post it in our marketplace for them.
Okay. All right. So
and then from there,
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, once it gets into our marketplace, dealers are notified, hey, this 2020 Toyota Highlander, whatever, is just listed. And then from there, they all start competing on it and driving up the price.
Okay. So it's whereas with Carvana, it's sort of, I post my pictures and take whatever they're willing to offer me. For y'all, there's this clear auction thing that's going on that people can see and maybe get excited about.
Yep. So there's really two different ways for individuals to sell a car. They can do it on their own, right? And everyone knows that you can sell it for more on your own than you can if you took it to a dealership. But why don't they do it? Because it's inconvenient, right?
Yeah,
it takes time, it's hard. So you can sell it on your own and have that level of competition there, or you can take it to a dealership or to CarMax, Carvana, and they'll cut you a check, and it's very simple, but there's no competition. So we're kind of taking the best of both worlds in that Carmigo is convenient to where all you do is give us basic information and we handle it from there. But it also adds that level of competition that you get when you sell it on your own. You get all these dealerships competing for it.
Okay. And from the dealership's perspective, I don't have to go into the wholesale market and try to fight through the shipping and all the costs associated with moving it to a couple different intermediate locations and fighting with other dealers. I still fight with other dealers, but I'm not paying the wholesaler.
That's right. But the biggest benefit for dealers is the source of inventory. Trade-ins are typically the best source. Vehicles that are coming directly from individuals, they're fresh. They're typically a little better to opposed to like, a typical auction. The source of vehicles that you get from there are like rental cars, bank repossessions, fleet vehicles. other vehicles that retailers are choosing to wholesale. And if retailers are choosing to wholesale, it means it's probably junk, or else they try and retail it. So we have a fresh source that people or that dealerships haven't had an opportunity at yet. So they're not going to find a lot of steals because you are competing against against other dealerships, but you're also competing against the individual's reserve price. And that's kind of a value proposition that we have is from an individual perspective is before we list your car, we ask you the minimum that you'll take for it. And we don't tell dealers that, we don't disclose that. But if the auction price does not meet that minimum price, you're not obligated to sell it. And if you don't sell it, you don't owe us a fee because we didn't provide a service. Okay. So, dealers are competing against one another, but they're also competing against the individual selling.
Yeah, cool idea. So you guys came up with it very organically. Your background, if you'll permit me to steal your thunder, was as a banker, right? So you started out as a banker, you moved into car sales, now as a CFO at a store, confronting a problem in the business of sourcing inventory, and the startup kind of leaped out of that. Where'd you start?
I started, let's go all the way back to I'm 19 years old. I'm in college in Kentucky or at University of Louisville in Kentucky. Definitely didn't go to Kentucky. And yeah. And, I'm about to turn 20 and when you're younger, at least I was like trying to think, okay, I've got it. Let's try and look at this next decade from the time when I turned 30, what can I say if I look back over from the time I was 20 to 30, what do I want to focus on? As I look back, what's one thing that I want to be committed to throughout the decade? And it was learning. Because I could chase status, I could chase money, but when I was thinking about a lot of those things, it's like, okay, well, those things should come if I have a foundation in learning. I knew that I wanted to become a business owner or a part of a small business that I can make an impact in. How do I get there? I didn't know, so I wanted to focus on learning as much as I could. So I made decisions when I was younger, like I left school, direct enrolled in a university in South America, lived down there for 6 months. Is Princeton Review still around?
Yeah.
You remember Princeton Review?
Oh, absolutely.
8 different universities. It would, well, I Googled Princeton Review top 10 internships, like White House is on there, Coca-Cola was on there, Northwestern Mutual was on there.
Okay.
And what does a 20-year-old selling insurance know? I'll tell you nothing. They don't know anything, but it was a fantastic experience. It took 5 rounds of interviews. Hated the job, but it for 2 years, it really taught me how to be uncomfortable and hear the word no a lot. And so again, focus on learning. After that, I was offered to stay on full-time at Northwestern, but I went to work in a management training program at a bank. Again, like I felt like I knew something, didn't really, but a lot of, when you're younger, you feel like you got all the problems, you just need a voice. But I went to this management training program and I was told to sit in a corner and be quiet for a full year. And they bounced me around from different departments, from trust to operations to being a teller to commercial lending, wealth management, everything in a bank. Exposed me to it all. And it was a fantastic experience, right? But it definitely didn't pay, definitely wasn't a good title. But I knew, like, if I'm chasing to be a business owner one day, I'm just going to need a bank. And it was important for me to understand that. So again, chasing, knowledge, went to do that for a year. And then opportunity came for me to sell cars in the family business. And again, selling cars, not an illustrious career, but I was gonna be able to come into a new business at the ground level and see firsthand like what it takes to grow that. And so again, it was a good opportunity. So anyway, fast forward to when I'm 30 years old, I look back over that decade, I'm like, what's one thing that I learned? The more that I knew, the more I realized I didn't know. So I guess that pursuit is just going to be everlasting. But chasing, being a student of what you're doing, that's ultimately like what led us to finding Carmigo. Understanding where the problems are, which in this case was lack of inventory. Okay, well, let's talk about a solution.
Okay. And so you guys, you had kind of a good depth for, whoop, I may have lost them.
I'm here.
Okay, sorry. Your patient face is very stoic. So when you guys get started, you've got this meeting and you get the idea for the app and you get the idea for sort of the business model comes to you out of this meeting. So you're sitting in Tupelo, Mississippi. How do you get a tech company going?
Oh my goodness. Well, in that pursuit of learning, I was a part of a peer-to-peer, like it's called a 20 group. I'm not sure how to, it's basically like-minded people getting together a couple times a year to talk about like industry problems and opportunities. And I was invited to one, it was in Washington, DC. There was a guy there that was super bright, a lot smarter than me, graduated from undergrad Berkeley, president of his MBA class at Wharton. He was presenting at one of these meetings and I was like, man, I got to get to know. And then over a couple of years, developed a relationship. And as I came up with the idea, he was one of the first people that I called. And so I called him, was like, hey, I got this idea. I don't know anything about tech. Can you put me in touch with somebody that can help develop the code behind it? And so he put me in contact with some people in Brazil that actually put the minimum viable product together. But in the meantime, I realized, hey, if I'm going to be a leader of a tech company, I can't say things like, I don't know the answer to this tech question because I'm not a tech guy. So I found a 6-month program out of Vanderbilt. It was like a boot camp type, full stack development, walked you through everything from front end to back end coding. And I realized real quick that I was the dumbest kid in that class, but I hired the 2 smartest people as our first 2 developers. So yeah, and then after we launched, I realized real quick that we might have something, and it was important to kind of move away from that like external development shop that we were using. Yeah. And then we started slowly transitioning to our own development team. Okay. So we've actually got developers all over the country right now, but a lot of our operations employees are based here in Tupelo.
Okay. Well, so what's the challenge now as you grow? So there's still people, or how do you get marketplace? And so you've got to build awareness. You've got to find inspectors in the local markets to go out and pull customers in. You've got to get dealerships excited to even participate in the app.
Yep. Okay. So I really looked at it. It's 3 silos. The first silo is like, hey, are we actually building a solution to a problem that exists? Right. So I wanted to chase, is this viable? Does it make sense for the sellers? Does it make sense for the buyers? And I think we're there. I think we've proven the model. We've launched, we had our soft launch in January, our full launch in April. Since then, we're in 5 different markets: Tupelo, Nashville, Birmingham, Huntsville, and Little Rock. We had a single day sales record yesterday. We sold 20 cars yesterday, so that was exciting.
Cool, congrats.
Thank you. But so I feel like we've proven that first silo of it makes sense for the buyers, it makes sense for the sellers. We've proven that we have provided a solution to a problem that exists. The next thing was, hey, can we build the tech around that problem to offer a solution? And we're, for the most part, there. We're always going to be chasing new features, but we're 85% of the way there as far as building the tech around that. Now, the third silo is, can we scale this at a way that's affordable? Can we drive our cost to acquire customers down to where this makes sense, business sense to do? And that's the biggest hurdle that we're facing right now. That's the last thing that I think that we have to prove before we go back to investors raising, another round of funding and take this thing up.
Okay. Yeah, so figuring out the margins while figuring out the cost associated with getting all those sales. Yeah, no, which
Mhm.
isn't an unusual growth problem. Do you remember the name of
Yeah.
the 2020 group? I got a friend that runs those in Amsterdam, as it turns out. It was a entrepreneur
Okay. It was
network.
actually through, yeah, it was actually through NADA, National Automobile Dealers
Okay.
Association.
Oh, so you were pitching to a group of
Yeah.
car guys, anyhow, car people.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep.
All
Yeah.
right. So looking back then, if you were sitting in college, so we'll do the what do you wish you knew when you were 20, although you kind of already got a little bit at that. What would you tell yourself when you were looking back that you maybe missed? What you
Um,
screwed up? How's that?
yeah, you know, and I don't know, maybe this isn't the right thing to say. I didn't, you know, I was focused on learning, but I was focused on doing that through experiences, not through what college could give me. And that pains me to say, but I don't really think that I developed a love of learning until after I graduated college,
Okay.
which really is unfortunate because I feel like I could have taken advantage of a lot more opportunities than I did while I was there. You know, I was there because I felt like I needed to be, not because I wanted to be, and it was, yeah, just kind of unfortunate to think about that. I mean, you know, things turned out okay, but uh, yeah, focus on the opportunities that were presented to me at the time, as opposed to just like always looking, you know, way downstream.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fine. No, and, you know, the check's in the mail on that. So thank you for saying
Yeah, yeah.
that.
No, I was a part of this program called Leadership Mississippi a couple years ago, and we went to visit Ole Miss's STEM facility.
Yeah.
Was blown away at the access that what your students have, like to 3D printing and to really fun stuff. I mean, it's like an adult playground in there.
Yeah, it
And
is.
it was like, man, I wish I could like pay a fee and have access to a lot of this stuff, because it was some pretty neat stuff that you could just like go in and piddle around. No like use case, you know, for it's not like I'd go in there and be like, hey, I need to do this, but just like understanding how that stuff works, because there's opportunities all around us. And I really don't think that you can sit around and say, hey, this is the next great idea. You know, I think it needs to be focused on experiences, putting yourself in positions to be uncomfortable at times, just doing your job and living your life, and be open to the idea of like, hey, there are problems out there that aren't solved. So I'm just going to live. And oh, and by the way, when I do that, I'm going to keep my eyes open and ears to the ground. So when I do see those problems, just explore to see if there's a solution that I could provide.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic advice. Thank you. You know, we're really looking forward to seeing your company grow. Congratulations on the success. I know the Mississippi Development Association's been behind you and has been a big supporter. And I was pulling up information before we talked, and press releases a go, and a lot of excitement over there. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're excited. But again, like, we don't grow when you have the money, you grow when you have the people.
Yeah.
And that is incredibly true with what we're doing. We've got, you know, 2 months ago, we had 10 employees. Now we've got 25. We've got an intern that at Ole Miss, Mary Chapman Johnson. She's been here almost since the beginning, done a fantastic job. Just hired a recent grad from Ole Miss, and always looking for more people. So, you know, Mississippi has a true brain drain problem, you know, where you got young kids that are growing up or either coming into the state to go to Ole Miss or State, but then after they graduate, they're leaving to head out. And you know, I think Carmigo has a unique opportunity to help combat that. And you know, I'm going to be chasing a lot of your graduates.
Well, we're certainly excited that you will. You know, so first I'll pay you the check for saying good things about uni, and then I'll give you a little backhander for the internship plug. But you know, if we can help in any way, obviously let us know. If you're a student and you're interested in reaching out, I strongly suggest making a show of your initiative and tracking down Mr. Warmath, or you could try to contact me and I'll put you in touch. In the meantime, congratulations. I hope that thank you very much for volunteering your time today. And we look forward to getting involved in any entrepreneurship stuff we can in the future.
Awesome.
excited for
Thanks a
you.
lot, Rich. Appreciate the time.